You know the replay. It's 11 p.m., maybe 2 a.m., and you're going back through what happened earlier. The moment in the kitchen or the car park, the homework table. You can hear exactly how you sounded. You can see your child's face and you're running it through your head, not to understand it, but to prosecute yourself with it. Most parents I know are intimately familiar with this ritual. The nighttime court case where you are simultaneously the accused, the prosecution, and the judge. The verdict is always the same. I'm not good enough at this. Not I did something I want to do differently. I am something that needs to be different. That distinction is the whole of today's episode because those two experiences are not the same thing. They don't produce the same results, and one of them is quietly running the cycle that brought you to this podcast in the first place. This is The Family Architect. I'm Philippa Scott, maternal transitions doula, creator of the Regulated Mother Method, and someone who has sat with enough parents in the aftermath of hard moments to know that the shame they're carrying is usually heavier than what actually happened. Today, we're starting a new arc of the show. Over the next 3 episodes, we're going to talk about shame and about the guidance gap and about what it actually looks like to have someone genuinely in your corner when parenting gets hard. We start today with shame because in my experience, it's the thing that keeps more parents stuck than almost anything else. And it's also the thing that gets talked about least honestly. So let's be honest about it. The most important distinction I want to make today is this. Guilt and shame are not the same experience and they do not produce the same results. Guilt is the feeling that says, I did something that doesn't reflect my values. It's relational. It's about a specific action and its impact. And guilt, when it's working properly, is actually useful. It points you towards repair. It says something went wrong here. I want to address it. I want to do something differently. Shame is something else entirely. Shame is the feeling that says, I am something wrong, not my behavior, me. It's not relational. It's identity level. And shame doesn't point towards repair. Shame points towards hiding. When you feel guilty about snapping at your child, the instinct is to go back and repair it, to say, that wasn't okay. I'm sorry. I want to do better. Guilt moves you towards the relationship. When you feel shame about it, the instinct is to avoid the thing that produced the shame, to perform extra good parenting for the next 2 days, to tell no one, to not look too closely at what happened because looking closely means confirming what you already fear about yourself. Shame moves you away from the relationship and away from the honest self-examination that could actually change something. This is why shame keeps the cycle running. That's not because you're weak, because shame is designed to protect you from threat, and it classifies your own interior life as a threat to be defended against. Here's something I've observed consistently, and I want to name it very plainly. The parents who carry the most shame about their parenting are almost never the ones who care the least. They're almost always the ones who care the most. Because shame lives in the gap between who you want to be and who you are under pressure. And the bigger that gap, the more conscious your intention, the more deliberate your choice to do this differently, the more devastating it feels when you end up in the pattern anyway. If you didn't care about being a thoughtful, regulated, intentional parent, the moments of reactivity would bother you less. They might not bother you at all. The shame is the gap between your aspiration and your behavior, felt in the body as evidence of fundamental inadequacy. Except that it's not evidence of inadequacy, it's evidence of a nervous system under pressure reverting to its earliest programming. And we've talked about that in depth in the Mother Awakening arc that preceded this episode. There's a mini series right before here. The pattern is not who you are. It is what your system does when it's dysregulated and running out of resources. The shame that says, I am the problem, is wrong. Clinically, factually wrong. But shame doesn't respond to logic. That's the other thing about it. You can know it's wrong and still feel it because shame lives in the body, not in the mind. It's a physiological response, not a cognitive one. Let me explain what's actually happening in the body when shame arrives, because I think it changes how you relate to it. Shame activates the same threat response in the nervous system as physical danger, the same pathway, the same physiological cascade. Your heart rate changes, your threat detection heightens, your body prepares for a response, except the threat is internal. It's you. Your own self-assessment has triggered a survival response, which means that when you're in shame, you're physiologically in a threat state. And what a threat state is not conducive to is clear thinking, open reflection, genuine learning, or meaningful change. When shame arrives, in the moment or in the 2 a.m. replay, your nervous system is not in a state that can do the productive work of understanding what happened and building something different. It is in a state of self-protection, which produces exactly what shame always produces: hiding, performing, silence, or doubling down on the same old management strategies. This is not a character observation. It is a description of your physiology. Shame cannot drive change. A threatened nervous system cannot learn its way to regulation. The biology simply doesn't support it. What the research on shame consistently points to, and what I've seen confirm itself in my practice over and over again, is that shame cannot be resolved in isolation. Shame needs a witness, a specific kind of witness, one who can hear the thing you are most ashamed of and respond with understanding rather than horror. Brené Brown's work on shame makes this point plainly. Shame cannot survive being spoken in a context of empathy. The moment the thing you're carrying is met with genuine recognition, someone who says, I understand this. I see why this is hard. I know this doesn't mean what you fear it means. The shame response begins to metabolize. Guilt can be resolved internally. Shame requires connection. Which brings us to the problem that most parents are carrying this alone, in silence, without a witness, without a single person who knows enough about nervous system parenting to respond with genuine understanding rather than with judgment or cheerful reassurance. That's a guidance gap. And that's where we're going next week. Before I close today, I want to name one more distinction because I think it trips people up. Shame is not accountability. They are frequently confused, but they produce opposite results. Accountability says, I did something that caused harm. I want to understand why, I want to repair it, and I want to build something different. Accountability can be uncomfortable, but it is oriented toward the future, toward change, toward a relationship. Shame says, I am fundamentally flawed. There is something wrong with me at a level of identity. Shame is oriented towards the self, specifically toward defending the self against further exposure. It produces rumination, not reflection, repetition and not change. The 2 a.m. court case is not accountability. It's shame performing the costume of accountability. It feels productive because it's effortful and uncomfortable, but it doesn't produce change. It produces exhaustion followed by the same behavior tomorrow. Accountability produces something specific. A repair conversation, a new strategy, a conversation with someone who can help you understand what drove the moment. Accountability has an output. Shame has a loop. If you find yourself going back over the same moments, the same patterns, the same failures without getting clearer, without building something new, that is shame at work, not accountability. And the exit from shame is not self-improvement. It's an honest connection with someone who has the context and the knowledge to help you make sense of what's happening. Next week, we're going into the guidance gap. Why most parents are navigating the hardest job of their lives without a single person who actually knows their full picture. It's a real conversation, and I think it will name something a lot of you have felt but haven't had words for. In the meantime, two things. First, the Wired quiz is in the show notes. It maps what's currently activating your nervous system in your parenting. It's not in a generic way, it's in a specific named way that gives you language for what's been driving the hard moments. That's your starting point. Second, the Sacred Reclamation. That challenge is also in the show notes. It's a free 5-day experience, and it is the first step out of shame and into something more useful. The link is in the show notes. Share this episode with a parent who is in the 2 a.m. replay. They need to know there's a difference between shame and accountability, and only one of them can actually change something. I'm Philippa Scott. This is The Family Architect.